Ever felt like you don't quite fit in, like you're in the wrong place, like everyone around you is part of something that you just can't grasp? You watch people living their normal lives and wonder, why can't you do the same? Why does everything seem so easy for them and so hard for you? If that resonates, then you need to hear this, because what I'm about to share could completely change how you see yourself and how you perceive this feeling of not belonging. Einstein felt the exact same way his entire life, right up until the very end. He never quite fit in, never fully belonged anywhere, never felt truly at home in any group. And he figured out why. A reason that most people aren't ready to hear, but it might be exactly what you need to hear today. If you've stuck around this long, you already know this video is for you. If you identified with what I said at the beginning, this video is definitely for you. If you felt that spark of recognition, that someone is finally describing what you feel, then keep watching, because what I'm about to reveal could change how you see yourself for the rest of your life. In 1950, Einstein wrote a letter that would change how we understand human consciousness, a letter that reveals why some people feel like they don't belong, and why that feeling might be the biggest sign that you're closer to the truth than you realize. This letter was written to a grieving father, a man named Robert Miller, who had just lost his 11-year-old son to polio. Miller was a rabbi, but in his deepest grief, he didn't seek out other rabbis, didn't seek out religious leaders, didn't seek out theologians. He sought out Einstein, a scientist, a physicist, a man who dedicated his life to understanding the laws of the universe. And Einstein's response was devastating, devastating in the best possible way. Not because it offered false hope, not because it said everything would be okay, not because it pretended the pain wasn't real, but because it revealed a truth that most people aren't ready to hear. A truth that changes everything. A truth about the nature of consciousness, about the nature of separation, about the nature of who you really are. Einstein wrote that a human being is part of the whole that we call the universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings, as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical illusion of consciousness. Read that again. An optical illusion of consciousness. Einstein wasn't talking about abstract philosophy. He was describing reality. As a physicist, the separation you feel is not real. It's an illusion created by your own consciousness. You feel separate because your mind creates that separation. But physical reality says something else. Physical reality says that you are part of something much larger. As much a part of it as a wave is part of the ocean. The wave looks separate, has its own shape, its own movement, its own identity. But at no point is the wave really separate from the ocean. It is the ocean, just in a temporary form. Just like you are the universe, just in a temporary form. The form you call I, as connected as a branch, is part of the tree. The branch might seem separate. It might have its own leaves, its own fruit, its own direction, but cut the branch from the tree, and it dies, because it was never separate. The separation was the illusion. The connection was the reality. The separation is the illusion. The connection is the reality. But why do we feel this separation so intensely? Why is the illusion so convincing? Einstein had an answer for that too. He said that this illusion is a kind of prison for us, a prison that restricts us to our personal desires and to affection for a few people nearest to us. Think about that. A prison. Einstein wasn't being dramatic. He was accurately describing what happens when we believe we are separate. When you believe you are an isolated entity, separate from the rest of the universe, you become trapped. Trapped in your own fears, trapped in your own desires, trapped in your own problems, because everything becomes about you, your pain, your anxiety, your loneliness, your fear of death. It all becomes unbearably personal. You carry the weight of the world alone, because you believe you are alone. You suffer the pain of existence as if it's only yours, because you believe it's only yours. You fear death as the absolute end, because you believe that you are separate from the rest, and that when you end, everything ends. But that's the illusion talking, the prison convincing you that its walls are reality. But when you realize that separation is an illusion, something changes, because your problems stop being only yours. Your pain stops being only yours. Your existence stops being only about you. You realize you're part of something much bigger, and that changes everything. Einstein knew this from personal experience. He wrote in his essay, "The World as I See It," that he was truly a solitary traveler, and that he never belonged to his country, his home, his friends, or even his immediate family with all his heart. Einstein admitted that he never felt completely at home anywhere, never felt completely belonging to any group, not even his own family. He was an outsider wherever he went, and it haunted him his entire life. When he was young, it hurt. When he was an adult, he learned to live with it. When he was old, he understood that it was a gift, but the feeling never completely disappeared. Einstein died feeling like an outsider, but an outsider who finally understood why he was an outsider, and that understanding made all the difference. But here's the crucial part. Einstein didn't see this as a flaw. He saw it as a consequence of seeing reality more clearly. The more you realize that separation is an illusion, the less you can fully identify with limited groups. The more you see the truth, the less you can pretend that any border is real. Borders between countries, borders between religions, borders between me and you, they are all constructs. They are all parts of the illusion. And when you start to see through those borders, you become an outsider. Not because there's something wrong with you, but because you are seeing something that most people can't see yet. Ever felt like you don't quite fit in? Like you're in the wrong place? Like the world is playing a game and you missed the instructions? Maybe you've noticed that the people who feel the most different are often the most sensitive, the most intelligent, the most intuitive. That's no coincidence. That nagging feeling that something's amiss in the way we live, that's not a flaw. It's perception. Highly sensitive kids, they often feel like outsiders because they notice things adults have forgotten how to notice. They sense the phoniness of social conventions. They feel the grief hidden in the people around them, their grief. They feel that the world isn't quite what it seems, and because no one validates that perception, they assume something's wrong with them. But there isn't. There's something right with them. So right that the world isn't ready to acknowledge it yet. And that brings me to Einstein. Einstein was exactly like that. From the very beginning, from his earliest years, as a child, he barely communicated with other kids. He avoided the games, avoided the roughhousing, avoided the interactions that seemed so natural to everyone else. He preferred solitude. His parents were worried, sick with worry. The family housekeeper called him stupid because he was slow to answer questions. Einstein had this habit of formulating responses slowly, mumbling to himself, and only then speaking out loud. It seemed odd, different, problematic. But it was exactly that difference that would allow him to revolutionize physics. It was exactly that misfit quality that made him able to see what no one else could see. If you feel different, Consider the possibility that you're not the one who's wrong, but that you're seeing something that others haven't yet been able to see. That might sound arrogant, but it's not. It's not about being better than anyone. It's about seeing differently. It's about perceiving what the majority has yet to perceive. Not because you're special, but because something within you woke up. Something within you tore through the veil. Something within you refuses to accept illusion as reality. And that's a gift that comes with responsibility. The responsibility to keep seeing, to keep questioning, to keep waking up. And maybe to help others wake up too. Is separation real, or is it an illusion? Let's think about this from the point of view of physics, from the science that Einstein revolutionized. What are you made of? Atoms. Where did those atoms come from? From stars that exploded billions of years ago. The carbon in your bones was forged in the core of dead stars. The oxygen you breathe was created in supernovae. The iron in your blood came from cosmic explosions. That happened before our sun even existed. You are literally made of stars. Not metaphorically, not poetically, literally. It's a scientific fact. The same matter that shines in the stars shines in your eyes. The same energy that moves galaxies moves your thoughts. You are not separate from the cosmos. You are the cosmos, getting to know itself. The very same atoms that make up your body have already been part of other things. Other people, other animals, other plants, other stars. You are the universe, experiencing itself. Think about that for a moment. The universe created eyes to see itself, created ears to hear itself, created consciousness to know itself. And you are that consciousness. You are the universe, looking at itself in the mirror, asking itself who it is, marveling at its own existence, not separate from it, but an expression of it, a part of the whole that gained the ability to contemplate the whole. And that is extraordinary. Einstein saw this clearly, and that's what he was trying to explain to the grieving father. Their grief. His son didn't disappear. The energy that composed him cannot be destroyed. It merely changed form. Just like water that evaporates doesn't cease to exist, it just changes state. The separation between you and your son is an optical illusion of consciousness. You look at him and see someone separate, but physics says that you're made of the same matter, that you share the same atoms, that have already been part of thousands of other forms, that you are both immersed in the same field of energy that permeates the entire universe. Separation is real only for limited consciousness, for physical reality. It never existed. In physical reality, you have never been separate, and you never will be, because there is no real separation, only the illusion of it. But why does consciousness create this illusion? Why do our brains make us feel separate when we're not? The answer may lie in evolution. To survive, we needed to distinguish between me and not me. We needed to know where our body ended and the world began. We needed to protect our resources, defend our territory, take care of our own. The illusion of separation was useful for survival, but useful doesn't mean true. And now, in a world where we no longer need to fight for basic survival, that illusion has become our prison. It traps us in isolated egos, makes us feel alone, in a universe full of connection, makes us fear death as if it were the end of everything, when in reality, it's just a change of form. Have you ever seen someone die? Have you ever felt that pain of loss that feels like it will destroy you? That pain is real. I'm not denying the pain, but the interpretation of the pain might be wrong. The pain is real. The loss is an illusion, because nothing is lost. Nothing disappears. Everything merely changes form. And what you call death is just one of the many transformations that energy undergoes. You don't lose the person. You lose the form they had. But the essence continues somewhere, somehow, always part of the same whole that you are. Einstein understood this, and he understood that the task of humanity is to free ourselves from this prison. He wrote that we must widen our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and all of nature in its beauty, not because we should be nice, but because that's the truth of our situation. We are part of everything, and when we treat any part of the whole as separate, we're living a lie that causes us suffering, a lie that keeps us trapped, a lie that makes us feel like we don't belong. And here's the irony. The feeling of not belonging is caused by the illusion of separation, but the feeling of not belonging is also the first sign that you're starting to see through the illusion. Think about it. The people who feel completely at home in the world are the ones who fully believe in the illusion. They believe that they are separate. They believe that the boundaries are real. They believe that their group is special and other groups are different. And that's why they feel comfortable. The illusion, it comforts them, but not you. You sense that something is wrong. You feel that the boundaries, they don't make sense. You feel that you're not just this body, this history, this identity. And that feeling, it bothers you. It makes you feel out of place. It makes you feel like you don't belong. But that discomfort, it's the beginning of truth. It's the universe waking you up. It's the illusion starting to crack. And you starting to see you do belong. You always belonged. You belong to the entire universe. You are the entire universe. You've just forgotten. And now you're starting to remember. If you feel different, it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's because you're starting to remember. Remember that separation is an illusion. Remember that you're part of something much bigger. Remember that you've never been alone, and you never will be. Einstein said that this loneliness is painful when we're young, but delicious as we mature, because when we're young, we want to belong to groups. We want to be accepted. We want to fit in. And the sensation of being different, it hurts. But as we mature, we realize that the difference was a gift. It was the ability to see beyond the illusions. It was the refusal to accept artificial limits. It was the intuition that there is something larger than we were taught. And that intuition was right. You're not crazy, you're not weird, you're not defective. You're someone who is seeing through the veil that most people don't even know exists. And that's a gift, even when it feels like a curse, even when it hurts, even when you wish you could be normal. Normality is the illusion accepted by most, and you can't accept it, because something in you knows more. Something in you remembers. Something in you sees. Einstein, he never quite fit in himself, but it was exactly that allowed him to change the world. If he had fit perfectly into the academic system, he never would have questioned the foundations of physics. If he had comfortably belonged to his time, he never would have imagined relativity. The disalignment was the fuel for his genius. Think of all the geniuses in history. How many of them fit in perfectly? How many were just normal people living normal lives? Almost none. The ones who changed the world were the ones who couldn't fit in it, the ones who saw things that no one else saw, the ones who asked questions that no one else asked, the ones who refused to accept the answers that everyone accepted. Van Gogh never sold a painting in his lifetime. He was a failure, by the standards of his time, but he saw colors that no one else saw. And now his paintings are worth hundreds of millions. Tesla died alone and poor, but he imagined technologies that would only exist decades later. He was so far ahead that nobody understood. Einstein was rejected by universities. He worked as a patent clerk because no one wanted him as a professor. But it was exactly that isolation that allowed him to think differently. And maybe the same is true for you. Maybe the feeling of not belonging is exactly what you need to do what you came here to do. Maybe it's the universe reminding you that you're not just another cog in the system. You're something more, something you don't yet fully know what is, but you're starting to discover. Einstein ended his letter to the grieving father, saying that the effort to free ourselves from this illusion of separation is the only concern of true religion. Not to nurture the illusion, but to try to overcome it, is the way to achieve the peace of mind that it's possible to have. Did you hear that? The only concern of true religion, not rituals, not dogmas, not beliefs, but overcoming the illusion of separation, realizing that you are part of the whole, and living according to that perception. That means treating every living being as part of you, because it is. It means treating nature as sacred, because it is. It means seeing the face of strangers and recognizing that they're not strangers. They're other manifestations of the same whole that you are, other waves of the same ocean, other branches of the same tree, other reflections of the same light. When you live like that, the feeling of not belonging, it disappears. Not because you finally fit into some group, but because you realize that you belong to everything, and that everything belongs to you. You don't need a specific place to belong. You belong to the universe, and the universe is everywhere. That was Einstein's religion, a religion without a personal God, but with infinite reverence for the universe, a religion without prayers, but with the constant practice of expanding the circle of compassion, a religion without temples, because every place is sacred, not just the buildings with crosses or crescent moons or stars of David, but the forest is sacred, the ocean is sacred, the city is sacred, your room is sacred, because the entire universe is the manifestation of the divine, and you are home anywhere, because every place is part of the same whole, and you are too, but with the awareness that the entire universe is sacred. When you live with that awareness, the feeling of not belonging, it transforms, because not belonging to specific groups is no longer a problem. You belong to something much larger than any group. You belong to the whole, and the whole belongs to you, because everything is part of the same whole. And if you feel different, maybe it's because you're closer to that perception than you realize. Maybe your inability to fit in is exactly what the universe needs from you. Maybe your discomfort with the illusions is the first step to seeing them as they are. Einstein lived 76 years, feeling like an outsider. 76 years, without ever fully belonging. 76 years, looking at the world from the outside. But it was exactly that outside perspective that allowed him to see what those on the inside didn't see. It was exactly that distance that gave him the necessary perspective to see that time and space are relative, to see that energy and matter are the same thing, to see that separation is an illusion. And from that place of otherness, he saw truths that changed history, truths that are still changing the way we understand the universe, truths that can change the way you understand yourself, if you let them, if you accept that your difference isn't a defect, it's a superpower. You can do the same, not despite being different, but because of it. Your difference is what allows you to see what others don't. Your difficulty fitting in is what allows you to question what others accept. Your discomfort with illusions is exactly what allows you to see through them. If this video resonated with you, if it showed you your differentness in a new light, consider supporting this channel with super thanks. Every contribution helps me keep revealing what most people prefer to keep hidden. You're not just a spectator here. You're part of this whole, and together we're expanding the circle, that circle of compassion that Einstein talked about. That circle that starts with you and expands to embrace everything. When you support this channel, you're not just helping to create content, you're participating in something bigger, a movement of people who are waking up, who are seeing through the illusions, who are realizing that separation isn't real, and who are choosing to live according to that realization. Now, tell me in the comments, have you always felt different? Since when? Do you remember the first time you realized you were different? Do you feel like you don't completely belong anywhere, not even to your family, not even to your country, not even to any group you've ever tried to fit into? And does what Einstein wrote change how you see that feeling? Does it change how you see yourself? Does it change how you see your story? I personally reply to every comment in the first 2 hours. Separation is an illusion. It always has been. It always will be. Connection is the reality. It always has been. It always will be. And you've always belonged to the whole, even when you forgot, even when it hurt, even when it seemed like you were completely alone. You never were. You never will be. Because separation doesn't exist, only the illusion of it. And you're waking up from that illusion now, in this moment. As you're listening to these words, something in you is remembering. Something in you is recognizing. Something in you is coming home. Welcome back to the whole. The whole has missed you, and you were missed. You always have been, and you always will be, because you are eternal, just like the whole.